There's one ingredient that seems to sneak its way into nearly everything we eat. It's everywhere, hiding in sauces, dressing up granola bars, even masquerading as natural in organic foods. I'm talking about sugar. And if you suffer from health anxiety like I do, it's something you start to obsess over once you realize just how damaging it can be to your body over time. I've spent years trying to fine-tune my health routines. I've tried supplements, vitamins, exercise, sleep hacks, everything. But one of the most impactful changes I ever made was cutting back on sugar. And not just the obvious stuff like candy or soda, but the hidden sugars too, the ones lurking in foods you'd never expect. I want to talk about why sugar is such a problem, how I learned to avoid it, what I use instead, and how even as someone with a serious sweet tooth and a very anxious brain, I've found ways to satisfy cravings without constantly flooding my body with this toxic substance. So let's start with the science. Sugar isn't just empty calories, it's actively harmful when consumed in excess. The research is overwhelming. Diets high in added sugars are strongly associated with increased risks of obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver disease, and even some types of cancer. And if you have health anxiety, you already know that every ache, every pain, every skipped heartbeat sends your brain into worst-case scenario mode. So imagine how calming it is to know that you've removed one of the biggest contributors to all those scary diseases. One of the most frightening things I learned is that sugar actually feeds inflammation in the body. Chronic inflammation has been linked to nearly every disease I'm afraid of. Heart disease, Alzheimer's, autoimmune conditions, digestive issues, the list goes on. The more sugar you consume, the more inflammatory cytokines your body releases, and the more likely you are to feel the kind of systemic discomfort that makes someone like me spiral into worry. On top of that, high sugar intake messes with your insulin levels. When you eat a lot of sugar, your blood glucose spikes rapidly, causing your body to pump out insulin to bring it back down. Over time, this cycle leads to insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes. And let's be real, the fear of diabetes is high on the list for many of us with health anxiety. We start Googling every time we feel a little extra thirsty or fatigued. The good news is, cutting back on sugar has a powerful effect on stabilizing blood glucose and improving insulin sensitivity. Sugar also negatively affects gut health, and if you've ever had a stomach twinge and then lost hours of your day to researching symptoms, you'll understand how important this is. Sugar promotes the growth of harmful bacteria and yeast in the gut, while starving the good bacteria that keep our digestive systems balanced. By reducing sugar, I found that my gut felt calmer, more predictable, and less likely to trigger the kind of discomfort that would have previously sent me into panic mode. And then there's the brain. The more sugar you eat, the more your brain wants it. It lights up the reward center just like drugs do, literally. Studies using brain scans have shown that sugar triggers the same regions as cocaine. It causes dopamine spikes and then crashes, which can lead to mood swings, irritability, fatigue, and brain fog. As someone with health anxiety, these mood swings are dangerous because they mimic the emotional and physical cues of illness. The irritability turns into worry. The fatigue makes me think something's wrong. Cutting back on sugar helped level me out emotionally, and that alone was worth it. What really turned the tide for me, though, was understanding that sugar isn't just harmful, it's addictive. And like any addiction, it requires strategy to break. I didn't go cold turkey. Instead, I started becoming hyper-aware of where sugar was hiding. I began reading food labels like my life depended on it, because in many ways it does. One of the easiest first steps was cutting out sugary drinks. I used to drink sweet tea or fruit juices thinking they were better than soda, but the sugar content was off the charts. Now I drink unsweet tea with just a splash of zero-sugar lemonade. Zero-calorie monk fruit sweetener is also helpful to have on hand for when something needs a little extra sweetness like a plain yogurt. It still gives me that little hit of tart sweet satisfaction, but without the blood sugar roller coaster. For snacks, I stopped reaching for granola bars or low-fat yogurts, which are often packed with hidden sugars. Instead, I started eating nuts, Greek yogurt with a few berries, or even just a square of 90% dark chocolate when I needed something sweet. Dark chocolate, by the way, is one of the few indulgences I've kept around. In moderation, it's not only low in sugar, but actually has some health benefits, like antioxidants and magnesium. Another huge help was switching to more whole foods. I try to base my meals on real ingredients, meats, vegetables, legumes, healthy fats. The less processed something is, the less likely it is to have added sugars. I also learned that savory foods can be deeply satisfying once your palate adjusts. roasted vegetables, spicy dishes, healthy fats. These all become more flavorful when you're not constantly numbing your taste buds with sweetness. When I do want something sweet, I go for fruit. Not fruit juice, just the actual fruit, fiber and all. Apples, blueberries, frozen mango. Things that still taste like a treat, but come packaged with nutrients and fiber to slow down the sugar absorption. The fiber is key because it helps blunt the insulin response, unlike processed sugar that hits your bloodstream like a freight train. I also found that certain spices can trick my brain into thinking I'm eating something sweeter than I am. Cinnamon, nutmeg, vanilla extract, these all give that dessert vibe without the need for sugar. I'll add cinnamon to coffee or sprinkle it on apples with almond butter. It's those little hacks that keep me from feeling deprived. Now, I'm not perfect. Every once in a while, I'll indulge in a dessert or have something sugary at a birthday party or holiday. But I do it with awareness and intention, not mindless consumption. And I'm always amazed at how sweet things taste now. Once you cut back, your taste buds reset. What used to taste normal now tastes overpowering. That's a huge sign of progress. One thing I've noticed since cutting sugar is how much more stable I feel, not just physically but emotionally. The energy dips are gone. The weird anxiety surges that used to hit mid-afternoon have disappeared. My sleep is better. My digestion is better. Even my skin looks healthier, which, let's face it, matters to anyone who spends time in front of a mirror scanning for symptoms. I used to think I needed sugar to feel happy or energized. Now I realize it was just a crutch that was keeping me stuck in cycles of panic and fatigue. By removing it, or at least dramatically reducing it, I gave my body a break. I gave my nervous system a break. And I gave my anxious mind fewer reasons to obsess over symptoms. So if you're like me, if you're always worried about your health, if you're trying to build a lifestyle that feels safe, sustainable, and protective, start by looking at your sugar intake. You don't have to eliminate it all overnight, but becoming aware of where it's hiding and how it's making you feel is a powerful first step. Think of it as one more way to take control, one more way to calm your system, one more way to prove to yourself that you are actively supporting your long-term health. Because in the end, a calm body makes for a calm mind. And a calm mind, that's the ultimate goal for those of us with health anxiety.